And
Give me a chance to practice. I get a little social anxiety or whatever with these things, but it's good for me.
I do think it's nice to like briefly chat to get used, so people can get used to each other. Before, like I like that. That we do like the sound and that. Oh yeah, and then I do my spiel. Yeah, so when we do the intro, we have that just like usually a 1 to 3 sentence bio about the person, and so usually like Jason and I will say hi, and then I'll introduce you and read the bio first, and then we'll kind of kick things off.
Okay.
Can you pronounce your last name for me so I don't say it wrong?
Kazmierczak or Kazmierczak are both fine.
Okay, Kazmierczak.
Kazmierczak is the proper Polish pronunciation, and then you have Kazmierczak, which is the Americanized pronunciation.
I think I was gonna guess Kazmierczak, but I make it a point not to guess anybody's names because you just don't want to be wrong. So.
Yeah, the CZ part always catches people off guard.
All right, cool. Oh, nice. Oh, I should pull up so we can watch so I can see comments and stuff, actually. So we can watch, so I can see comments and stuff, essentially. Wait, what happened there? Yeah, I heard it too. Wait, you know what? I can see comments. So. Oh, I took it. Wait, what happened there?
Are you hearing an echo?
I think you can hear our voices on the stream.
Hey, Rena.
Hey, Jason. Hey, everybody. Welcome to Human Happy Hour. Today, we are joined by Drake Kazmierczak. And Drake has a BA in 3D animation and film from Columbia College in Chicago and has been a 3D designer for over a decade. He has created 3D graphics for market research visualizations, government mobile games, and indie games. So welcome, Drake, and thank you for being with us.
Well, yeah, thank you for having me on. It's a pleasure. Excited to be here.
Uh-oh, Jason, you're well,
Sorry.
we can't.
Sorry. My big fat finger hit the big small button. What is up with your shirt? October Games. What's that?
That's my studio. I figured I represent it as I'm on the
Ah.
October Games is my game studio.
Oh, nice. Okay, I don't know why I didn't know that. Is that in the thing?
I'm surprised I didn't mention it.
Yeah, I'll definitely put that in the
studio. Horror Legends and Puppet Master the game is being made by. So yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I'll put that in the description and stuff for later and things like that. Yeah, so I already have a million questions, but I'll let Rena be on track first.
Yeah, so this is usually how we have our question list and then we bounce around. I like to redirect us back to the question list, and Jason likes to take us off. It's kind of a fun game that we play. But really, like, I don't know much of anything about games, so I'm like I guess a 5-year-old that you're talking to about gaming, and then Jason knows all the things that he knows. So it just so we set the tone, we know what's happening. So
Sure, yeah.
so if I'm asking questions, they're probably going to be like pretty rudimentary, and also yeah. Also, I find games very frustrating, so I sort of want to delve into like
I'll save you, Drake.
like I'm the person that like tried to play. I wasn't allowed to have them when I was a kid, and I tried to play Mario Kart, and they go the wrong way, and I'm screaming at the game, and like so it's just it's very stress inducing. So I think like I'm curious about like what really drew you in to gaming, and like how did you kind of start with that, and then what made you want to start making your own?
Well, I guess what really I kind of just fell into gaming. I mean I love being creative, and I like all sorts of different avenues of being creative. So when I was growing up, I had a little game maker called Game Factory, and I would make little 2D 16-bit games for myself and for my friends and stuff, and I really cut my teeth on that, and it helped teach me a lot of fundamentals of animation, because I would find sprite sheets online and see like, oh, this is how Mega Man walks, and he's got 8 frames of animation, and there's like 2 impacts and one where you kind of learn by just seeing how other professionals have done it. And what I really wanted to do when I went to college was make movies. So that's why I studied computer animation and film. I wanted to make 3D animated movies. I chose 3D animation because I felt like it was the least limiting in what you could do, and I love to draw. The first thing I ever did creatively was just draw. I would just, as a kid, as early as I can remember, I was just doodling on paper characters and monsters, anything that I was interested in at the time. I'd draw it over and over again. My tests in school were covered with creepy eyes and little critters, and there's anything that but actual like paperwork was on my test, I would just draw all over it. But yeah, I guess after I wasn't even finished with college, and then I got a job opportunity to work at a visual market research company that focused on video games as an avenue to do market research. And I had to learn like I had to learn how to make game environments as my job. So I started learning game art skills there.
Oh, wow.
A lot of transfers over from like movies to games, but the difference with games is there's a heavy emphasis on optimization. With movies, you can kind of, I've dabbled in making 3D movies, in college, and a little bit here and there for myself, but once I started doing the video game stuff, it's kind of I just stayed there because I started to learn more, and it's like, well, let's just stay here and just see where I can go with this. But big difference with games is the optimization. So with movies, you can pretty much just use as much polygons as you need to make something look good, and take all the time you need to render something. And then, of course, there's circumstances for each project, but the general idea is like once you've rendered it, now it just plays, and it doesn't really matter how optimized it is. Of course, you can do things to improve your render times and stuff, but really at the end of the day, it's what the final product looks like is what matters. But with a game, everything's rendered in real time, and there's a lot of technical challenges with that, and making sure that you're not rendering, spending like 1,000 polygons on a blade of grass, and it's like, this is the best looking piece of grass I've ever seen, but a player's never gonna get down to that part of the environment and look at that grass in that way. So want to use a repeated texture. There's little things there, and I really had to learn that at my first job. Is a huge thing, because all the market research was done on web, and this is like late 2000s and early 2010s. So the web, streaming 3D graphics over the web, is pretty new, and you were basically making things that were very low quality, but we had to find ways to get as much quality out of that as possible and run applications on machines that didn't have graphics cards, because our primary focus wasn't on gamers. It was people that worked in big corporations that wanted to test their product in a 3D environment. So it was all sorts of challenges. So I really cut my teeth learning gaming there. Like we didn't make games, but we learned the fundamentals to make a game environment and world and all that. So it's like, well, I got these skills. I used to like making games when I was little, so let me see what I can do. And that's kind of where it all started, and it kind of never left. And once I got experience working in games, I found more jobs in games, and just kind of kept there. I never really went to film, even though I've dabbled in it in my spare time for fun.
All right, let me translate for Rena.
I'm sorry.
I have a lot of questions about some of the
I'm
terms.
sorry. Yeah.
So you know what he means by, you can if you make a movie, it doesn't matter about how much information goes into it, right? Because when you render it, you're making a movie at, say, like a 1080p, and it's a video now, so you're just streaming a video.
Yeah,
right?
that part I got. But
Okay.
I guess when somebody's playing, you have to constantly be.
It's now refreshing. Everything's refreshing all the time, so it has to load it. So if you walk into a building, or actually it's more of a sector thing probably, when you walk a certain way, things start rendering in live. And if you're a multiplayer game, it's happening for everyone on the server.
Oh.
So you have to tone everything down, but still make it look good, so that it can happen live and then bounce off satellites and go through Ethernets and.
It all depends on what type of game you're making, too.
Yeah, like DayZ is currently my favorite game on the planet Earth. I've liked it since 2013. I watched Frankie when he was on Arma 2 mod, and that I started playing that, and then I jumped into standalone. And I was there when you broke your legs if you went down a ladder. I was there when you couldn't jump, like all the way back there. And now that game is absolutely amazing, and everybody has a bad taste in their mouth about it. But it's coming back because Shroud started playing it.
Never really could get into DayZ. I played a little bit of it when it came out officially on Steam, and it's just a big time commitment.
Oh yes.
It's like, I want to run for hours through these cornfields and woods, and then find a house, and here I found like some shorts and like a butter knife. Like, I guess I'm living the big life now. And I get shot by someone who's playing for 30 more hours than me, and okay, now I'm back at 0 again.
Yeah, or the reverse. You're playing for 30 hours and some newbie comes in with a 22 and gets a lucky shot.
And that's when it gets addictive.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's like, I found this really good weapon. Now I'm gonna stick it out and see who I can pick off or whatever. I've seen some pretty fun videos though of people holding people up like at gunpoint, like, no, give me all your stuff. And like, it's like real life. It's like, whoa, crazy that they're actually cooperating like that, because they've been playing for 40 hours. They don't want to lose their stuff.
There's there's consequences. That's what's great about the game. Most games, it's like, you die, you respawn, and you gear up, and then you die and you respawn and you gear up. DayZ, you can play for hours and you're like barely surviving. You're sick. It's cold. You have a gun with 3 bullets, and
do your taxes every year.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it like Oregon Trail or something? My reference is like Oregon Trail.
That's actually
it's sure. It's like
a
the
pretty
Oregon
good comparison,
Trail.
but like more military and
zombies
based. Yeah, I forgot about the zombies.
Yeah, no one remembers the zombies.
Yeah, the zombies aren't as threatening as actual people.
Yeah, not at all. Oh wow, that's great. I also like 7 Days to Die. Are you into that at all?
I have not played that either.
Okay, we're gonna have to connect on Steam.
Sure, yeah.
I gotta.
You may like Horror Legends, actually.
Okay.
It's kind of a smaller version of DayZ, very smaller version, but there's also giant pumpkinhead monsters chasing you.
Okay, what's the premise of it? Like, what? Tell me about it. Like,
Horror Legends is this is burned into my brain. Horror Legends is a 5 versus 1 asymmetrical multiplayer horror game where one person gets to play as a badass monster and terrorize a group of survivors.
Like Dead Before Dawn, kind of, or Death Before Dawn,
Dead by Daylight.
Dead by Daylight.
Like that. It's not. Dead by Daylight did not inspire Horror Legends. We've been making Horror Legends since like 2014, and it's just taken a long time because I'm just, most of that time was just me scrapping by trying to get stuff put together and finding the right people to work with. And once I started finding the right people, things started coming together in like 2018, 2019.
Oh, that's awesome.
But yeah, I was building art for almost 8 years before the game came out, and just random ideas. And I'm working on the design documents, talking to people. I ran 2 crowdfunding campaigns that failed. But yeah, I just loved the idea so much. I had to make the game. So that's kind of what that is. But it's got a lot of survival. I wanted you to feel like you're in a horror movie, and like, would you do the things that people in a horror movie would do if you would have be put against a monster or something?
I'm excited. I want to play it now. That's awesome.
That is, because people always yell at horror movies. You're like, why are you doing that? Like, you should go that way. And so that's a cool premise.
Yeah, you'd be surprised how often people do the wrong thing in the game. Like, because you're like, oh, well, you're in the movie. When you're watching a movie, you're calm, you're collected, you're eating popcorn. You're like, why would you go upstairs? But when you're getting chased by a werewolf, you're like, you're making horrible decisions.
Yeah,
it's because you're panicked. So it's kind of fun to see that stuff play out. Like, especially in Horror Legends, I've seen people do some really weird things. Like, we have I've seen people walk up to the giant pumpkinhead monster with a scythe for a hand and just start punching him in the face. I'm like, what are you doing? He's gonna kill you. And then they die. And they're like, why? What made you think that was gonna work out for you? And it's kind of funny to see that. I guess in games you just feel impervious.
I think you could cut the pumpkin monster's head off with the scythe, right?
Well, he's got the pumpkinhead monster's got the scythe. That's the
problem. Oh, you don't have the weapon.
I mean, I've seen people just walk up with nothing and just start punching him, and it's like, you're just annoying him.
Okay.
He's gonna turn around and he's gonna take you out.
But, now, is it like they have to work together? The people in the if they choose to.
Yeah, you work together to complete objectives to escape. And it's all based around, it's got a very Halloween vibe to it. So there's like good witch and a bad witch, and they're kind of running the objectives. You have, there's a good witch trying to help you escape, while a bad witch is trying to keep you in with the monster. They're not players. They're just like the objectives. So there's like effigies you have to burn to like unlift this curse so you can get out of the environment. And it's all fantasy and like exaggerated, for fun. It's very tongue-in-cheek horror. It's not to be taken too seriously.
Like, that's cool. Because I have a hard time with horror games. I'm terrible. I'm terrible at them because I'm afraid I get really involved. Like Silent Hill was terrifying to me.
Oh yeah, that's
Absolutely
definitely one
terrifying.
of the greatest
Yeah.
horror games ever.
Oh my
So
god. And I'm afraid in the forest.
that's the one with the cannibals, right?
Yeah, it's
I
very
played
scary
that.
game.
Yeah, that's very oh yeah, that's pretty horrifying.
Yeah, and the scariest game I've ever played to date is Call of Cthulhu, and I've only played for 3 hours and I stopped.
I have not played that yet. I actually have played a little bit of it. I have it on Steam, and I've been trying to I don't have a lot of time to actually play games
Yeah.
nowadays. I'm making them most of the time. When I do, I'm like, what do I do with my time? I just end up going to sleep. But but yeah, I've I played a little bit of that game, and that was pretty interesting. Kind of gave me some Morrowind vibes.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Scrolls, yeah.
Yeah, except oh my god, the thing that scares me the most in games is when nothing's happening. Like you're just walking down a hall with that's kind of shaded green a little bit, and there's doors on each side, and oh my god! But
And then
the game,
there's no music playing. You're like,
oh
it's
yeah,
really quiet. Something's gonna happen.
but the game you're describing sounds fun. Like it doesn't sound like that. It would terrify me. It sounds like it would be a really fun with startles. Like it would have
There's
startling
some startles.
Moments. Yeah,
and, depending on the player playing the monster,
yeah.
I made one of the reasons I made Horror Legend, or wanted to make Horror Legends, is because I like to scare people. It's fun, like playing the monster and like hiding in a closet and just like jumping out and scaring someone is a thrill.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to give the monster player all the opportunities to do that. And there's even characters that have mechanics that only help them scare people, not really kill them, but it's fun, so I want to leave it in there. Like we have a killer doll character who when you play as her, the map is populated with fake versions of her, just other dolls that look exactly like her, and you can pretend to sit down and be one of them. So they don't know which doll's alive, which doll's inanimate, and the players are just walking through the environment. They're like, I don't know which doll is going to attack me.
Yeah.
And they start, if you attack the wrong doll, it's like there's a penalty, so you don't want to like make the wrong judgment call. So you're kind of like nervous around these things, and they just have these beady eyes, and it's fun, especially when they don't see it coming. You like jump up as the doll, and you're alive running around. They start to freak out. I always like to get someone with that scare, and it's a lot of fun.
Oh, awesome.
Mm-hmm. I probably couldn't play any horror games. So I get like, if I watch horror movies, I get very vivid nightmares, especially zombie nightmares. Yeah. So yeah, I don't know if I could.
My wife's terrified of zombies.
Yeah.
It's not like zombie movies.
Yeah, like just the thought of like being eaten alive is just it's just horrifying.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, especially because zombies have that like great white shark thing going on where they don't care, and the more you scream, the more they get a little nuts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's creepy to me. Lions too. I don't like that stuff. I don't like it.
Yeah,
not at
animals.
All. Yeah, nope. Keep screaming. I don't care.
Yeah, right.
Just great.
Yeah.
What engine do you use?
Oh, we use Unity.
Oh, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Now that other Unity games, is that like Uncharted? Is that Unity?
No, Uncharted is Sony. I think they use their own engine. They made their own engine for the Uncharted games.
Oh wow, that makes sense actually.
Yeah.
What's one that uses Unity that I'm trying to remember one.
Oh, there's tons of games that use Unity.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm blanking at the trying to think of any on the top of my head.
Yeah, that's really what's happening to me.
Yeah.
Well, I guess that Daylight game probably does. I would assume
they use Dead by Daylight uses Unreal.
Oh, they use Unreal. Wow.
Yeah, I know Unity Unreal kind of sounds similar. We'll start with you, and you're like,
What would make you choose Unity over Unreal? I mean, I'm pretty familiar with Unreal. I love it, but
that's what I've been using since day one.
Okay.
Not day one, but like when I started my career working in market research, we used Unity. I'm like, okay, I started learning this game engine, and just take those skills and move it. The more you know, the more you can do, and it kind of snowballs. And now I feel very confident in doing a lot of things in Unity. So I would love to take some time to dive into Unreal and really Unreal's not hard. I've used it, but like, I'm more confident. I have also a lot of tools that I like to use in Unity that you buy plugins and stuff that will help.
It's kind of like photographers pick their camera brand, and then they're stuck with it because they have all the lenses.
Yeah, it's kind of like a video editor too. You use Premiere or Final Cut.
Yeah.
As long as you can make pretty much the same thing in both game engines, it just depends on how you use the engine. And Unity is a little bit, or Unreal is actually very easy to use now. After the last few updates, last 2 versions that came out in the last 10 years have made it really user friendly. Probably to compete with Unity, because Unity started off as being very user friendly. So yeah, I think.
Valheim's one, and so is Raft and Rust use Unity.
Oh yeah, I bet. Yeah,
thanks, Alex.
I haven't played those games, but I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, okay. I've never heard of Cuphead.
Cuphead, that's a great little 2D action platformer shooter game. They have like a really cool art style. It's like a 1930s cartoon.
I know that game. Yeah,
it looks fantastic. It's very impressive. I would love to play it. I haven't played it. I've seen lots of footage of it, and I've always loved looking at that game. It's incredible.
Oh wow, that's awesome. When you do the artwork, you said you've been doing it for 8 years. You said artwork.
Well, I've been doing artwork for games for like 10 years now.
But
10 years.
For this game though, like
this Horror Legends, I would say getting close. We started in 2014, so probably 8 years now. Yeah. I would make characters. I'd come up with ideas, and I would just make the art. Well, I guess the reason I would make the art is because I would have a couple people that are like, okay, we got to make this project. I want to make this multiplayer horror game, and get some people together, and we'll start working on it. And people get flaky, but I'm sitting in my room making character models, environments, and I'm getting all into it, and like, okay, where's the code? And the programmer is just like, I'm not really interested anymore. And I was like, oh well, crud, I just spent like weeks making cool stuff, but I got this cool stuff and I really want to make this project, so I guess I'll put a pin in it, and then until I find someone who wants to make the code. And that's kind of why it took 10 years to make the game. So I would find a new programmer, we'd work a little bit, didn't really pan out, and I would make more art because I get more excited and make more characters, and they're like, oh, I guess it's not what's happening, and I put a pin in it. Or I'd run a Kickstarter campaign, make a lot of stuff to promote the Kickstarter campaign, and it doesn't pan out, put a pin in it. Make trailers. I fell in love with this idea and had to make it. So whether it was going to be successful or not, it was going to happen because it just really wanted to play this game and make it, because it just was burning in my head.
Oh, that's great.
So what happened when you finally finished it and showcased it? And I think we have on here that you've shown it. Is this the game that you've shown at conventions? Can you talk a little about that?
Yeah, I've went to in 2015 we were launching our Kickstarter campaign, and I was like, well, we got to promote it. And we went to a local horror convention in Seattle called Crypticon. And I was like, well, all right, well, there's a lot of horror fans there. There are probably some gamers in there too that would love to play this game. And at the time, asymmetrical horror games weren't really a thing yet. There were a few like Evolve and Damned, but no one, you couldn't really play as like the iconic horror archetypes, from the movies. That you wanted to play as those type of characters in a game. And so I wanted to market towards that crowd. Went to Seattle Crypticon. We had a booth, and I had a trailer playing, and I would tell people the Kickstarter. And then we had 2 rooms sectioned off, and we made like a maze where it was mostly just tablecloth and pipe that we would make walls out of, like really lightweight walls. And we had a guy in a punky costume, which is the main character from Horror Legends. The monster is a Pumpkinhead Monster, and we had made a costume for a friend of mine to wear it, and he acted in there, and he would roam the maze, and you have to get through the room without getting spotted. It was actually like a demo, but in live action, of what the game could be like.
Oh,
So
that's
you and a
awesome.
group of friends would go in this
That's
room and
cool.
try to get through without getting spotted. And it was like flashlight tag. If he saw you move, he would point at you, and then we had someone in the room pull you out from the beginning, so you would lose and you have to try again. And we had a huge line of people playing this thing, and we actually, some people wanted a bigger challenge, so I went in there and added like candles. They had to find candles and bring me the candles. If they get through the whole maze, they got a prize. They give them a poster and like some swag that we were giving away at the booth. Is, we would have normally just gave it away, but I was like, let's make them work for it. And no one knew what the costume looked like, but until they were in there, which added a lot to the fear factor. There's a group of like big dudes who were like, I want to go in there and do this, and they would get in there, and then they would see a glimpse. First of all, we set the stage. It's dark. There's a strobe light. We have eerie music playing in this room, and these guys would walk in. They would see this maze, and then they would get a glimpse of him in the distance of the maze, and they're like not doing this. And they would just run out the other
Yeah,
end.
that'd be me.
Just like, it made me smile,
yeah.
and it's like, oh man, this in game form would be amazing. And there wasn't even, obviously can't have combat or anything like that complicated, but it was the fact that they had to get through it, and if he walked by, they'd have to stand still. It was really fun to watch.
Oh, neat.
Love to do that again sometime, but it was really huge production. I was really pushing hard to promote the Kickstarter, which, I think it pulled away from the focus of the actual game in retrospect, but it was a fun experience all together. So I'm glad I did it. But
is this on Steam?
yes, Horror Legends is on Steam.
All right, I'm gonna get it right now.
No, thank you.
I'm not kidding. I am.
Thanks for the support.
Sorry
just,
if I.
Warning. Just fair warning. There's not a huge player base, so
Whatever.
we have bots now, but they're kind of stupid. I'm just gonna be honest. Not gonna.
I'll try it. I love. I
Yeah.
want to try it totally.
We should try to stream and try it together.
It would be a
Jason.
good team building game. We could all the human happy hour people could play it and try to get through, and
Yeah.
maybe Drake could be the bad guy.
Oh, I would love that.
That'd be fun. I'm not kidding. I would love this.
I would make it fun.
The cards are stacked against us because he knows the game inside and out.
I'm a
I would
quick
make
learner.
it fun. I wouldn't play to win. I would play for fun.
I'm really doing this. Okay, what's the name again?
Horror Legends. Also, probably not the best title. It doesn't really but I like that title. But I think it's when you search for it online, it doesn't really pop up right away.
Sorry, I'm looking at it now.
No, take your time.
I'll just. Okay, so you can get it for $4.99, which is an amazing price, by the way. That's awesome. And what's the $15.97? What? Oh, all the DLCs.
We have DLC.
Downloadable content.
Yes.
Yeah.
Two of them are just skins for if you want to help support. One of them is literally called the supporter pack, which is just some skins of some of our characters in the game with the game's logo on the shirt, kind of like this, but with the game's logo. And it glows in the dark, and we have monsters have like glowing blood splatter skins that are kind of neat looking too. It doesn't really give you an advantage actually, but it's cool. They show that you really you like the game, you want to support us even more. We could definitely use your help, so you go the extra mile and buy those skins. But you're just getting some skins. You don't get any other advantages.
Yeah, you have a very positive rating. That's not easy to do on Steam.
No, I worked really hard.
That's great.
My team and I have worked very hard at that. Very small team, but worked our butts off on that thing.
Oh, that's awesome.
So tell me, because I again know nothing about talk about that. Why is it hard to get a high rating, and how do you do that? And Drake, what do you feel like your team did?
Well, I think just to get a high rating, I think you got to make something. Be honest and just make something from the heart and make something that you want to play. And the people, I think, everything's subjective, so you don't really know how people are going to react. And but I just know that I love this game, so hopefully people see the same value in it as I do, and luckily the people that have reviewed it have seen that value and given us a good review, and I appreciate that. The only few bad reviews that we do have are like there's no one playing, and it's like I'm doing everything we can to fix that, and it's really hard because it's a marketing thing, and we're pretty much working with table scraps as far as development costs, and we have no funds to just dump into like here's an ad on Facebook that's going to show up because we need like some major funds for that. And the way I was approaching it's kind of I don't want to shift topics too much, but the way I kind of approached starting when I started October Games, I didn't really want a publisher at the time because I wanted to just make what we wanted to make. We didn't want any restrictions. We didn't want to be forced to like, hey, you know what's really in right now? Dinosaurs. Could you put a dinosaur in your game? Like, I guess, but it's like it's going to take away from the things that I think would be better for the game. Or like, everyone's loves roller skates. Could you give Punky roller skates? Like, I don't know. The kids are just talking about it on TikTok. Give Punky roller skates. We're going to sell tons of them. Like I'm worried about that kind of thing. Creative integrity.
Yeah.
I highly value creative freedom, and partially why I'm indie and not working in AAA spaces. I just want to make things. I learn these skills to make things I want to make, not necessarily make what other people want to make. Maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot for a future job, but that's just kind of my honest feeling is like, why would I want to learn all these crazy skills? I'm going to like do it for someone else when I want to make my own things.
Yeah.
So
that see that part I understand.
It's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hours. It's not healthy either. Like there's a lot of hours sitting in front of a computer, slaving away, stitching vertices together, or going over numbers on character stats and trying to figure out why this character isn't working, and testing, or like all of a sudden like this character's arms are not like you're messed up, and like I gotta like spend my Saturday going through all the bones on a character rig to figure out why this character is messed up. It's just a lot of uncreative work that needs to be done, a lot of painful work that needs to be done. So like, yeah, I want to do it for something I love, and that's the big draw, and hopefully someday that it pays the bills.
Yeah.
Right now it doesn't really do that. It's kind of a hobby. But hopefully within our upcoming project, all that's going to change. We feel the bigger push on marketing and recognizable characters are something that will really help drive our sales and recognition as a studio.
Yeah. How often do you guys do updates?
Well, as much as we can. For Horror Legends, you can look through our update history, and it's kind of every 6 months. The way it works is like we do a summer update, then we do a October update, Halloween update, which just came out. We have a Halloween event going on in Horror Legends.
Oh, nice.
And then we typically have something for Christmas, an update for Christmas, and that's kind of the route. I don't really like create like a what do you call it?
Like a schedule.
There's a proper name for it.
But
I'm blanking on it, and I'm
roadmap.
Roadmap. Yeah, we don't really have a roadmap because we don't know what we're going to be able to do. So it's like, this is how much money we've made on our game. This is how much money you have to spend on new features and code and all that stuff. And our programmer is he's freelance, so he's the only one really getting paid from this. So we take that money and we're like, okay, what can we add? And like I have this list of things I've dreamt of over the last 10 years of things I want to make for Horror Legends. And we've pretty much done all of them except for maybe 2 or 3. I'm starting to blank here.
Welcome to my world.
I just looked at myself on stream and my brain just turned off. Like,
I know the feeling. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. So basically, I don't want to overpromise things. So I don't want to create a roadmap that I can't deliver.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's I don't want to like.
Yeah, gamers
disappoint
are not
anyone.
forgiving at all when you do that.
No.
They get really upset when you promise something and you start delaying and delaying. They get vicious.
Oh yeah, I try to avoid that.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
You know, we're like I said, we don't have the resources to plan out a roadmap. You know, we don't know how if we're going to be able to make the next update.
Yeah,
and
you don't want to do a No Man's Sky.
No Man's Sky is much more successful than Horror Legends.
Right now, yeah, but
even
but
when
boy.
it came out and it didn't have all the bells and whistles. But
bells and whistles, you couldn't get into the game for the whole first 12 hours.
Yeah. No, yeah, they overpromised and weren't able to deliver on all that stuff. But I think there was something behind the scenes about that. I'm not sure. I didn't really pay too much attention to that.
Oh, God.
I didn't really play that game but I read the news articles and, you know, it made me wary of doing something similar to that. I'm not going to sit here and go, oh, we're going to have drivable cars in the next update. It's like, no, that's never going to happen in this iteration of the game because it just wasn't built for that. It's too big of a feature.
Oh, yeah. Rena, what happened with No Man's Sky? They released it, and what they promised is that everyone that played would be in the same server, and space was as big as space. And you may run into each other, but it's so vast that you probably won't. And it actually turns out that wasn't like that at all, because gamers who are pretty smart people would go to a sector and record themselves there and then have a friend go to that same exact spot in space and record themselves, but they couldn't see each other. And so it became this like thing where they're like, this isn't even multiplayer. You guys said it was going to be multiplayer. And besides that, it just didn't work for the first almost half a day. It was crazy.
Yeah, I feel for those devs.
That's exactly.
I wonder what happened. Like
Me too.
I know there's probably written somewhere in some article I didn't read, but I feel like there was some miscommunication between marketing and development, and the guy who was doing the promotion didn't really get the memo on like, oh, we're releasing like in a couple months, and like he's like, what? I just promised we're going to have multiplayer, you know?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's more along that. It's not people. A lot of people have this and feel like developers have like this ill intent.
Oh, I know.
Their news or posting of or anything that they do. I've been accused of being, you know, not having the gamer's best interest at heart. And it's like, no, you guys feed us. You know, like of course, like everything we're doing here is in your best interest. We're not trying to like take anything from you or steal from you, or we're not lying to you about features or anything that like you can completely play Horror Legends for free with our demo without any risk. Like I want to be completely upfront with what you're getting and what you're paying for, because it's not a perfect game. You know, I understand that, like but you have every right to like know what you're getting into before you give us your money. So that's kind of the way I go about it. Probably not the best way to make money, but I don't want it to make anyone feel like I ripped them off or anything like that.
I like that. I think that's great.
So how do you tell how gamers feel?
They tell you.
Oh, they will tell you.
Like reviews or email, or how's that?
Many ways. We have social media. We have Discord server, and they through Steam reviews or depending whatever platform you're on, reviews they will review your game and let you know how they feel. And luckily, you know, the community around Horror Legends has been very, very cool and have been very understanding with the game and its developments. And we've definitely listening to their feedback, and a lot of the games feature. There's been game features have been added because people suggested it to us on Discord. Horror Legends started off as an early access title, so people they would play early builds of the game before it was very raw, and they go, oh, this is cool, you know, but it would be cool if this happened, or like this attack's too strong, or I feel like the chase mechanic here isn't really working, and we would look at that. We don't really have like a huge dedicated testing team, so the early access model really helped us get that, you know, data I would watch every video and stream on Horde Legends to get any information that could be useful to like fix a bug or fix some balance issue or just something that felt like a rough edge that I could sand off on the game anywhere. Like I just did something the other day. I saw a stream of Horde Legends. I saw like, oh, maybe this should work like this instead. So let's just tweak that feature a little bit so players won't get confused as often. Like flashlights were turned off at the beginning of the game, and people would spend 3 or 4 games like, is there a flashlight in this game? I'm like, yes, there's a flashlight. It's like no one looks at the controls before they play. They just jump in.
Yeah.
And get frustrated when they don't know what they're doing. And I'm like, well, I guess I have to have everything kind of laid out for you, so you're not as frustrated. So it's like, well, an easy fix, just turn the flashlights on when the game starts, and then that way they know they have a flashlight, and then they'll look. If they want to turn it off, they can look to find a way to turn it off.
Right.
And now you've taught them that there's a flashlight, and they're not going to be running through the dark.
Yeah.
The whole game, and you're like, there was one of the objectives requires a flashlight to use. You have to shine a magical flashlight on some magic like shield around an objective. And they're like, there's a flashlight here. It says we need a flashlight. We got to find a flashlight. Like, no, just press the T button. Just press the T.
Wait a minute.
At the screen. It's at the T button. Like there's a flashlight.
Flashlight is T?
The torch. Our programmer's German.
Oh, okay.
So you put it there. I'm like, fine. Our F is our primary use key. So like, I'm not going to make it F. So T.
Right.
Guess
what about L?
Lantern. That's really far on the keyboard.
It is really far, but L's often a flashlight. I've noticed, and I agree with you.
I've never noticed that before.
T is chat usually.
Yeah, we have Y and U, I think.
That's cool.
Forgetting.
You know what though? We're supposed to. You're right though. We as gamers, we're supposed to look at the. You lay it out there for you. I mean, do you have a tutorial at the beginning where like it says anything like that, like little bubbles and stuff?
I made a comic on how to play the game.
I
took screenshots. I made it like kind of fun. You can read. Basically, it's like those old manuals you used to get in you buy a game, you get to read the manual, and sometimes they have artwork and make it fun to like learn how to play. That's what we did with Horde Legends. Reason why it's cheaper. Well, it's not cheaper. It's a lot more work for me. I have to draw and design and write how to play the game and lay it out in a way that you can understand. But it doesn't require me to pay our programmer to make some complex like single player tutorial with prompts and like button presses and all that stuff is very expensive and time consuming. You have to test that, make sure it works, it doesn't break. Like it's like, you want a tutorial or you want a new legend monster to play as? Like those are the two things. Like I can just show you how to play. You just take a second and flip through this like comic book that I made for you. You'll get the basics and then just jump in and kind of figure it out. Look at the buttons. It's all there. But people want to learn the game as fast as possible. I don't blame them, but like there's a restraint there. We don't have the funds or the time to really make something that complicated. Maybe if we were a team of at least 6, and we had money, maybe, but we're a team of 2.5.
2.5.
Our programmer is part-time. He works when we have tasks for him, and then it's me and my business partner Nick, who is the sound designer and level designer. He helps design levels and helps me balance characters, and we basically clash ideas together, and we take 2 rocks and make a diamond. And it's been very, very beneficial, having someone to like do that with. Otherwise it's just me by myself and testing things. But and our programmer, we're like, hey, we want you to make this character that can teleport and have crazy like attacks, and we have this mechanic with her where you have to use holy water on her, and it's like he's like, what? And it's like 4 or 5 like task cards breaking down, or I just break it down and like, okay, must be able to do this feature. If you press this button, does this, and it doesn't make any sense to him, but he just does what we lay out, and hopefully it works, and we test it out and it works. Doesn't work, we can bring it back. It's like it's not fun, but it works to a point.
I'm learning there is a lot that goes into making video games.
Oh yeah.
There's my business partner Nick and I had this 4-hour conversation about the jump button one night. So it's like that's how nitty gritty it gets. It's like every little thing matters. Like if one number is off, the game could be broken. Like we have a werewolf in our game, and I'm very adamant on making this thing feel and play like what you would expect a werewolf to play like. Like we can balance this thing so it's fair very easily, but like it's not going to be fun for the werewolf player or for this cast, which is our survivors. And like we were trying to like, okay, if the werewolf's too fast, he's going to just turn everyone into hamburger in like a second. So we have to slow him down. But then the werewolf player feels like they're not fast enough because they're expecting a werewolf to be really fast because it's an animal. It's like a lion. So like it's got to be moving fast. So we have to come up with new ways to make that feel like it's fast, but also make it so they can't just catch someone and kill them in like a second. So there's a lot of many nights talking about the werewolf. The werewolf was very tough to balance, and I think we sit in a really good spot right now.
What did you come up with for the werewolf? Do you have like they have hold up like a cross or silver bullets or something, or like
silver sword?
You
can find a silver sword on the map, and you have to download werewolf twice. And not to get too nitty gritty into the mechanics, but we have a downstate system in the game. Some characters use it, all the survivors, cast members use it, and some legends use it. So if you reach 0, your character will enter like a injured state where they're kind of like they can't move and they can't attack or anything. And there's like they have a second health bar when they're in that state, and when that health bar goes down to 0, now you can activate a finisher animation, which I painstakingly animated every single one, where where you can actually grab someone and like do something cinematic to them to finish them off. And with the werewolf, you can like usually those are made for the legends to kill a cast member in a fantastic way, but with the werewolf and our other character Radu, you can actually do that as a cast member on the legend. So it's like to find the silver sword, you've downed the werewolf, his health bar went down to 0, and now you can actually execute him when he goes down. You take the sword, you just impale the werewolf, and then he dies. And it's pretty epic, because usually if a werewolf knows what he's doing, he's been terrorizing you the entire game. He's just constantly on you, mauling you, and when you finally impale him, it's like this huge victory, which is pretty fun.
Oh,
I don't know if anything I said made any sense.
Oh yeah, totally. Well, I got it.
Yeah, so I guess he acts like you would expect a werewolf to act in a horror film, where he's constantly trying to get the people, and and then that big moment when they're able to get him is like feels similar to that from the end of the film.
Yeah, it's like if you were able to actually achieve that, it feels like an end of a movie. Like you finally defeated the monster.
Right.
But if the werewolf's not very good, doesn't know what they're doing, it feels like you just bullied someone to death. So it's because the werewolf's like, I don't know, I can't catch anyone. Like they don't know how to use the pounce abilities, the crawling abilities, the travel mode abilities. Like there's all sorts of different ways you can move as the werewolf. So they're just trying to run on 2 feet, chasing someone with their claws, and they're like not catching people. And that's because they don't know about the other movement options this character has and how vicious they can be. Like the werewolf doesn't do a lot of damage, but can do a little amount of damage very fast. And that's like what it's all about with that character, where other characters like Punky have this giant scythe can do critical hit damage to you in like 1 or 2 hits, where the werewolf can hit you like 10 times and then you'll go down. But it's like you want to be able to survive these encounters, these creatures, and be able to react to them, but also make the creatures feel like they're powerful. So it's very tricky. This is the hardest type of genre to start off on.
Yeah, I was just thinking that.
It's so hard. Like you're better off making something like a single player RPG, not even an RPG, maybe just a platformer or something.
Doom again.
Yeah, just make something simple. My dream game was this the most complicated multiplayer game genre ever. It's a multiplayer game. It's like video games are hard. Multiplayer games are very hard. Asymmetrical multiplayer games are even harder.
Yeah.
I kind of fantasize about making a non-asymmetrical game where it's like that's gonna be easy to balance.
Right.
Like I feel like I can do anything now.
Oh wow. What are the different creatures? Who are they?
We have Punky, our Pumpkinhead Monster. He's kind of like the big bad, the first legend I designed, the most fleshed out character-wise and lore-wise. There's actually 2 versions of him in the game. There's a human version of him before he becomes like this monstrous Pumpkinhead man. And
he has a backstory.
yeah.
What's his backstory? I like the story elements.
So Horror Legends, just kind of take another step back, is I saw Freddy vs. Jason in theaters, and I was like, oh, I really love the idea of these characters existing in the same universe. Like, and with Freddy, Jason, Leatherface, Michael Myers, like that fan base always kind of fantasizes about them existing in the same universe and like interact with each other. And that Freddy vs. Jason movie kind of was like the pinnacle of that. And grew up being a big Alien vs. Predator fan. So that's like that was my childhood. It was Alien vs. Predator and Puppet Master, and that those things are very ingrained in me as like in my fandoms. So having like this huge world building thing, I was like, I want to make a universe of my own monsters. But when I was growing up, like I was like, oh, I was just fantasizing about a game where you can play Michael Myers and Jason all in the same video game, and I didn't know anything about licensing when I was like 14. So yeah, Horror Legends goes back. It was in my head that far back. It's just something that, you know, as I got the skills, allowed me to actually see it through. But now that, you know, it's like, okay, once I got older and realized like, okay, I'm not getting a license for these characters, and lo and behold, there's Dead by Daylight actually achieved that. But I was like, oh, I'll still make my own characters and put in my own universe, and I want to make characters that feel like they are similar in tone to those older characters from the movies, but I want them to feel like they're not just rip-offs. I want them to feel like they have their own lore, and you could actually be a fan of both and have them coexist.
Nice.
So Punky is kind of like, I did a lot of studying of, you know, Nightmare on Elm Street, and, you know, Child's Play, Pumpkinhead, of course. But, you know, I think Punky's, well, I guess I'm kind of getting ahead of myself, because Punky actually started off as a game mechanic first. Like I wanted his whole mechanic was like, there's these objects in the map that prevent him from dying permanently. And I was like, okay. And I was originally gonna be like a zombie like legend or some type of monster in my game. Like it's gonna be like a zombie, or you have these like things on the map that spawn zombies, and he is actually a zombie you have to kill. This main, I'm not making any sense right now.
I'm following you.
Yeah, I feel anyway, sorry.
I'm getting that. So you observed a lot of different characters, and that went into the creation of this character. Right?
Yeah, so yeah, I guess the character started off as a game mechanic for like a zombie, and I was like, zombie's too bland and it's been overdone in video games, and I wanted something more original, but also something recognizable. Like that's something like I don't have any recognizable IP. So I wanted something when you see it, you're like, oh, that's cool. I know what that is to a point, but then you learn more about it. Like, oh, this goes even deeper and it's its own thing. So I was like, what's a monster that hasn't been utilized a lot in horror? And I was like, a Pumpkinhead. Like I love, like even the movie Pumpkinhead, it's not really a pumpkinhead. It's just a demon called Pumpkinhead. It doesn't have a jack-o'-lantern for a head. It's like
a good movie, by the way.
Oh, I love that movie.
Yeah.
Love that movie. And I was like, okay, I want to make the quintessential Pumpkinhead monster. And it's like, what does it take to do that? It's like, he's got to have like a good backstory. He's got to have good character, and you got to hate him. He's got to be irredeemable. Like, so when I say I studied like Nightmare on Elm Street, I like looked at what made Freddy Krueger, like that's the tone I was going for. Like someone like Freddy, like he's very fun, like evil, like Freddy's like kind of the rock and roll version of a slasher, where you're not really like you kind of, you love to hate him, type of character, but he's also irredeemable. There's nothing redeemable at Freddy Krueger.
Right.
And I wanted to feel that I never want to like make it like you feel sorry for Punky or anything like that. So I developing his backstory. I made sure of that. He's like the guy who puts poison in your apple on Halloween, or puts a razor blade in your candy. Like that was the initial point, like the inspiration point for his personality. Like, what kind of psycho would do that to a child? And and he's got to love theatrics to do that too. So he's got to love to be evil. Like that's someone who does that loves to be evil and like mischievous and play pranks and stuff and just be kind of cold-hearted and also enjoy it. So that's kind of Punky. I don't know if you want me to go into the details of his backstory, but he's like a farmer who kidnaps some kids with tricks them in Halloween to like eat some like candy, and then kidnaps them and puts them in like a cornfield and sacrifices them on Halloween night and gives them his powers.
Irredeemable.
Right, he's irredeemable. Like he on All Hallows Eve he sacrifices children to like this unknown entity to give him like regenerative powers, which is what happens, how he becomes a Pumpkinhead monster. He has to give up his identity. He carves his own face out of a pumpkin and puts that on to sacrifice his identity. And then it's all crazy to say out loud.
Yeah.
But I wanted to make sure it was all Halloween themed too. Like this guy's a Pumpkinhead guy, but he's not trying to become a Pumpkinhead monster. That's what he uses to create his new identity with. And this entity uses that to regenerate him. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm sorry. I don't really talk about this too often, but
so he gets the pumpkin and he carves the face that's going to be his new identity.
Well,
that's pretty cool.
It's all kind of not spoken. I wrote a comic. It's you can unlock the comic in the game that kind of goes into detail. Not in detail. It shows you the perspective of the survivors. So you get to see Punky, but you don't know what he's doing, but you can kind of pick up some of like what's going on through his actions. But you don't know exactly why he's doing what he's doing. So you don't never truly understand Punky. And that's a big part of keeping him mysterious and scary. But he carves his own face with a pumpkin, puts that on his face as part of a ritual, and then once the parents find out that they stole stole their kids for the sacrifice, they all team up with the cops and go to his farm and they shoot him up. Like they load all their guns into them and kills him, but he's already like completed part of his ritual and able to regenerate next Halloween as this Pumpkinhead man, because he put as his new identity, this unknown force regenerates him into that new form. It's pretty wild to say out loud, but
I'm following you completely.
Yeah,
it's cool.
Yeah, I wanted to make something that felt familiar, but also it's original in its own right.
Is he still trying to complete his ritual?
Yes, that's a big part of the
makes
story.
sense.
We have so he's stole like 5 kids, 4 of them get sacrificed, 1 of them escapes, and that's like the main character of the story. And you actually get to play as this character as an adult in the game, and she becomes like this novice witch monster hunter character.
Nice.
Yeah, it's also she works with the good witch in the game that's trying to help everyone escape. So she's kind of like the boots on the ground person that goes in and tries to save people. And it's kind of like Buffy Supernatural type thing where in the story, she would meet a new legend from my universe in every issue if I were to make more comics.
Is that a non-playing character or is that a character you can play?
You can play as her. Her name's Ryan Steele. It's a very 80s action hero.
Yeah, totally.
That you wouldn't expect with a final girl character. But she kicks ass.
Nice.
So my guess is that the experience depends on who's playing, because if somebody can play every character, the player experience must depend how good you are at playing these various characters.
So Ryan, her moveset actually encourages you to play like how she would be in the comic. So I gave her an ability to sense a monster. So she always has like the sixth sense about these legends because she survived one and then she grew up learning how to kill them. So if you're playing as Ryan, you can tell your friends, like, don't go in that room. There's a monster in there. I can sense something's wrong. And it makes you kind of play like how she would, how I'd want her to act in the lore. And she also has like unlockable skills, like with she has got 3 spells that she could use in the game she's a novice witch, so she can do very simple spells like a healing, like a very light healing spell, or she has like a force push ability that's pretty hilarious to use. And she can shoot a fireball, but you have to spend experience points to get all this stuff, and you can only use one at a time, so it's not like broken, but you get the sense that this character is here to fight the monster and help people escape, rather than, she's not caught up in it. She actually put herself in that situation to help the other people escape. So she's got some extra tools to help people survive.
Neat.
Like sensing monsters.
So Punky and
that's one.
Werewolf.
We have a Pumpkinhead monster. We have 2 Pumpkinhead monsters. We have a slasher, undead slasher character is very reminiscent of Michael Myers or Jason Voorhees. He's named Killer Keith. I didn't name him, but a friend of mine, I didn't design him either. Visually, a friend of mine named Gage Linston did the art for him, and we used a prototype of that model in like early stages of development, and we fell in love with it. Like, it was his model, and we just like, hey, do you mind if I use this for testing? He's like, sure. And then we were testing, like, we really like this character, we just have it. And he's like, yeah, let me remake it for you. And he remade it for us and gave it to. It's really awesome. But he's a masked undead slasher character who works at a junkyard. And he's got a combat knife and sharpened rebar that he can throw at you. He walks, he doesn't run. So it's very hard for him to catch up to you by just walking, but he can like warp around the map and catch you off guard. He does a lot of damage. He also is very hard to kill. Like, if you unload a gun into him, he's not going to die. You have to be really like coordinated to kill him. Like, you have to take everyone has to work together to kill him, and you can call the cops, and the AI cops will appear. They can help you kill him too. It's pretty wild. He also has like, you can put like toxic gas traps on the map that like block entry points to slow down players from like escaping. That all it does is slow them down and reveal themselves to the legend, so the legend can kind of counter them. We have a werewolf, which I've talked about, and we have a killer doll, which I talked a little bit about.
Is the doll small too?
The doll is Chucky size. I did that
on
purpose to reminisce of, like, here's what I want to make a game like I love killer dolls. That's like one of my favorite subgenres of horror.
I love killer dolls. That was said.
I like that stuff. So my favorite horror films is like Puppet Master and Child's Play. So like I gotta try making like what it would be like to make a Chucky type character. So we took it's the same scale roughly, and very reminiscent in appearance, but it's our own character. It's got our own backstory, completely different lore wise than Chucky, but it's just like, if you're a Chucky fan, you're going to be like, oh, I want to try this character and see how it feels. And she's got, and it's a girl named Corey, who is a doll maker, who gets killed by a doll manufacturer by accident, and then they hide her death by putting her body into a vat of plastic that they use to make the dolls, and then that's how she possesses the dolls. She's more than one doll. She's not just one. So she can control all the dolls in the lore. But we have a chainsaw maniac character named Psycho Phil. So after we got Killer Keith, I'm like, let's keep this weird name train going. And I was like, here's Psycho Phil, and he's a shirtless overweight guy with a chainsaw, with a weird mask chasing you around, very Texas Chainsaw style. He's got a crossbow, and he has a doll too. He's got a Corey doll with him, and the reason why he's a psycho is because this doll convinced him to kill for the doll.
Nice.
So if you run out low on health, and as a psycho Phil, you can talk to the doll. The doll will give you a quick pep talk about how everyone was mean to you and you should kill them. And the doll refills your health, and you're back at it.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
And everyone can hear you talking to this doll. You just hear like this creepy conversation with this muffled masked man and this doll, and you're like, what is happening? I'm getting away from that. Yeah. It's they're very I love those two characters because they work together in the lore. Like Phil he works at a department store on Black Friday.
Nice.
He's been working at a department store for a very long time, and on Black Friday they get this shipment of dolls in, which are the same dolls that Corey dolls, and he basically like falls in love with this doll, not like he loves the doll, and his coworkers make fun of him because of it, and then when they lock the store on Black Friday, the doll they pick on Phil and all this stuff, and the dolls, the Corey kind of just like convinces Phil like, oh, these are bad people, we need to, I need to write this out. I don't know if I want to just talk about it like that. I feel like it just sounds terrible.
It doesn't. No, it doesn't.
There's like this on Black Friday. Yeah, this doll convinces this stockroom employee to like kill everyone on Black Friday, and then they escape together to go take her revenge off on the toy company that killed her. So, and also the mask that he's wearing is like a robotic Santa head that he took the rubber off. So that's why it's got a beard, and it's got like these green glowing eyes because it's meant for like a robotic Santa in the store on Black Friday. And Phil actually has an unlockable Santa Claus outfit. So it's Santa Claus with a killer doll, essentially. But the Santa Claus kind of acts like Leatherface a little bit. So it's all over the place.
Is the doll an elf? Just curious.
No, it's just she kind of looks like a little maid.
Oh my God!
Like, yeah, it's so bizarre.
So much worse.
It's a weird doll. Yeah, it's meant to be a little weird. Yeah,
that's not the same. You said there was like another little girl doll. This is a different.
This is the same doll. Same doll. So these two characters work together.
Okay.
You can play as them separately.
I see. All right. I was thinking there were two dolls, but all right now. So that's the partner to him.
Yeah, he has this doll with him, and basically he becomes a killer because of the doll.
Are there any other legends?
Yeah, we have another legend called Edith, who is like this demonic ghost woman.
Nice.
We call her the night terror. It's like kind of inspired by that idea of when you're asleep in bed and you get sleep paralysis, you always see that black figure in the corner of your eye that's staring at you. It's kind of what Edith is, and she's very different from all the legends. My business partner Nick designed her gameplay, and she's just like you have to use holy water to defeat her. She teleports around the map. She's got duplicates of her, kind of like Corey, and it's pretty complicated, and a lot of players don't know how to like play as her or how to react to her at first, and kind of like the other legends are a little easier to like pick up and play, but this one takes a bit to understand and master, which adds a lot of depth to it. It gives you something to kind of like really chew on as compared to some of the other characters.
Does she float?
Yes, she floats around.
Nice.
She's kind of a mix visually between like Elvira and Venom from Spider-Man. That's kind of what I was going for. We went through a couple different designs, and
my image just switched in my head.
You like don't know what
I had one
looks like,
and then
right? Yeah,
I have no idea what that looks like.
Yeah, I do.
If you're a big nerd, you know what that looks kind of like. She got hair that kind of is symbiotic, kind of wraps around her, and she creates like these giant fingernails out of her hair, and all of her attacks are kind of hair themed. She's kind of like she can like shoot like hair to like slow cast members, like her hair is like coming out and reaching, like tangling them up. She
Creepy.
I'm probably gonna be like one of the weirdest guests you've had on this podcast.
I hope so.
Wait, so these are all so people
great.
can play as like all of these horror characters, but are there people playing as like people?
Yeah, the
Like,
survivors.
The survivors, yeah. I didn't get into them yet.
Right.
Each each legend is kind of its own chapter in think of it as like a comic book.
Oh.
Each legend's its own comic book. And Ryan would be jumping. She would be the our protagonist in each one of those, and she would try to figure out how to defeat this monster of the week in each issue. And there's and each issue has their own people that are caught up in the. Each issue has their own survivors, people that are being attacked by this entity or monster, and have to survive. And Ryan's got to save them. So you got characters from Killer Keith's story or the Werewolf story, all kind of mixing in, and you can play as them. And no matter who the legend is, you can play as all of them. So you get someone from Punky's story and someone from Killer Keith's story, all in one match on a map that's not. It's all mixed and matched, but it's all part of the world. It's kind of the way I like to do it, I guess. It's just make everything connected somehow. And not just kind of. This is a farmhouse, but this is Punky's farmhouse. This is where Punky comes from, and this is a salvage yard. This is not just any salvage yard. This is where Killer Keith comes from, and it doesn't matter if someone from Punky's story ends up in that. You kind of gives you a chance to make your own stories up too. Allows you to create your own narratives.
Is there one map?
No, we have 6 maps.
Oh, for each legend?
Not for each legend, sadly. Would love to do that, but some of the maps, there's 2 maps based on legends. Like you have Killer Keith's junkyard and Punky's salvage yard, and then you have some other maps that are based off situations in the comic book. Like there's a Dream Realm map that's based off a story idea. Well, my business partner Nick designed that map, but I came up with a story around the idea of a dream realm that involves Ryan and Punky again, but it's not part. It's hard to talk about all this stuff when it's still kind of the concept phase, but story wise. But the idea is that Ryan goes to help someone with psychic abilities that's stuck in a coma and enters his dreams, and then while doing that, wakens up her own trauma of her past with Punky, and it creates this nightmare version of Punky. And while she's trying to save this coma patient through his dreams, Punky is chasing her again. And it's the first time they meet since her childhood, and then they meet again at the end of my first story arc. As they meet 3 times in the first arc.
Are the physics different in the dream world?
Oh, well, not entirely. There's different.
It'd be cool if everybody was slower.
That would be really hard to work with.
Yeah, because everything would have to be rebalanced.
Yeah, Werewolf doesn't work in Dream World at all because his pounce is he just stays in the air forever, and once he pounces, he's just stuck up there. But there's a lot of weirdness in the Dream Realm. You start off on these floating platforms in outer space, and you enter this mouth of a nightmare ghost. And you enter a hallway, and then there's picture frames on the walls, and you go into a picture frame, and you're inside of an alleyway, and the alleyway leads into a graveyard. And then these picture frames are like portals, or they're mirrors that you have to break to enter another world in the dream world. So there's actually 4 maps in one. You have these 4 different environments. The graveyard leads into a clock tower, which leads back into these floating space rocks that leads you to escape. And you wake up. Basically, when you escape, you wake up from the dream. It really throws people off. It's like the Edith legend. It's everything is the same until you get to this one map and one legend, and it's well, this is all different. It's a different game almost. So it kind of freshens things up as you're playing. Kind of mix things up a little bit.
So if you're a total game novice, are you going to understand how to play this or what's going on, or do you have to be a gamer to be able to
it's gonna be really hard for someone new to games to just jump in, because there's a lot of FPS, like first-person shooter mechanics that are in the game. That if you're not familiar with those, then
Rita said that she can't use the keyboard and the mouse at the same time, I believe. Is that right? Didn't you say that?
I've never even actually played a computer game.
That's what she means by novice.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you're gonna have a hard time. So this game was definitely made for us developers. We made this for ourselves first, and kind of, you know,
I'll start her off at Minecraft,
and they will come type of mentality. But yeah, if you're very interested in the idea, willing to learn the mechanics, if you're just starting off with keyboard and mouse, first person shooter controls, you might have a hard time. I remember teaching my dad how to play Medal of Honor back in the day, and he's just holding W down and then moving the mouse. He doesn't really know what he's doing. Now he can destroy me in a video game.
Nice.
But you gotta, if you're interested enough, you'll learn, type of thing. But it could be kind of hard.
There are starter games. We could try Minecraft first. That would be a perfect game to start on, I believe.
Minecraft's pretty complicated, isn't it? Like,
well, the movement is all pretty easy.
The movement's actually the same as Horror Legends. I don't know if there's a crouch button, but it's WASD and mouse and keyboard, right?
Do you double click W to go faster, or?
Do you have to hit multiple letters at the same time?
Yeah, but you don't look at them. It becomes muscle memory.
Yeah, and that's the hard part. Once you kind of learn where all the buttons are, you're like, once you get used to WASD, everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
But you're like, here, use the keyboard to move. You're like, I'm just going to press random buttons to move. Like, it doesn't make sense. Just a bunch of buttons.
Do you have to press WASD all at the same time?
No. W is forward, S is stop or backwards.
Okay.
A and D are left and right, and you can strafe also.
It's like you look at your arrow keys and just imagine them as WASD, and move them. And the reason why they moved them over to the left of the keyboard, because you have Q and E. They're very accessible for other functions like pressing F. A lot of early games used the arrows at first, but realized that the button layout wasn't as optimal for.
And also your hands are close together, and that's annoying.
Yep.
Because your keyboard's here and the mouse is here. It's better to be like that.
Oh, okay.
I'm so used to video game mechanics that I took a typing class in high school and it was pretty good. But now when I type, my memory comes from video game keys. If I put my 3 fingers on W, A, and D, I know where every key is on the keyboard pretty much.
Me too. I feel like a lot of modern keyboards even have those buttons, like they have like little bumps on them, so you can find them without even looking.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yours probably does, Rena, because you said it was a gaming laptop. Does it have little dots on the W, A, and D? Like,
actually,
are WSD like different colors or something?
No, it actually doesn't. It has a bump on the F.
Okay, well, it might be old school then.
Well, we also have controller support, so you can use an Xbox controller or any controller for that matter.
Yeah, but who would do
I
that?
can't use that either.
No, that's,
yeah,
that's not good. I don't like that. I don't like controllers at all,
especially for shooters. But it works really well for Horror Legends.
Oh, okay.
It's not completely supported, so you might want to use the keyboard to get through some menus. Again, that would be a lot of additional coding work to get it to work completely. But it's there if you really want it, and you can rebind all your keys. So.
Oh God.
Yeah. If you really wanted to change everything, use the arrows. If you wanted to go real old school.
Yeah. Oh God. I had a friend that took his A and D and moved it to Q and E, and that's how he played. It was like crazy, and he used A and D as Q and E. Like he just swapped them. I'm like, first, what made you even think of doing that? First of all,
like, yeah, it seems weird. Like your hands, my fingers don't really rest like that. They rest like that.
Yeah, it was weird. It was odd, but yeah, he loves it.
He's got a different build,
Yeah,
it's more comfortable for him. His middle finger isn't as long, or I don't know.
Rena's imagining herself playing.
I'm like looking at the key. I'm like.
It's a lot. Yeah, computer games can be really intimidating at first.
It is a lot.
Oh, that's fun. Yeah, we have to play a game.
As long as you don't mind me like cursing the whole time, and yet like
that's kind of
anytime when I was younger, somebody tried to get me to play a game, because again, I was not allowed to have video games. So then when I'd play them, I didn't really know how. I didn't know just button mash everything, and then you get mad because you don't know the buttons. And then like as an adult, when someone tries to teach me games, I'm just like,
It's
making me angry. Why do I want to invest time into this? Like, I feel like you have to connect with it as a kid, like to like it as an adult. Is that true? Do you think? Or
that's interesting. I don't really know. I think
there's something.
I think people like playing games, even if they're not video games. Like people like playing board games and like hide and seek as kids. That interest kind of transfers over into video games, and video games allows you to do so much more without, hurting yourself, like playing a sport or whatever. But I don't know. It depends on what you want, what you're interested in. Like for me, I like, I guess playing, Ghost in the Graveyard as a kid really stuck with me.
Oh, I love that game.
Want to make a game that kind of it feels like that again. But I know it all depends on what you're interested in.
See, that proves my childhood theory, right?
Yeah.
You're probably right there.
Where did you grow up? You just Ghost in the Graveyard. I'm like, oh, you must. I did that too. I love that game.
I grew up in the Midwest, born in California, and then moved to Chicago, and then stayed there until I moved to Washington about 9 years ago. So.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Yeah, grew up in Illinois.
Oh, okay, nice. And like a rural area.
I moved a lot.
Oh, okay.
My parents.
Chicago's not rural though.
Yeah, Chicago is just easier because it's like everywhere I lived was close enough to Chicago, so you kind of like man, I'm blanking on all the Palatine, Rolling Meadows, Arlington Heights,
oh, okay.
Rockford. I don't know. I'm having a hard time remembering all of the.
Oh yeah, geez, it's a lot.
Towns and cities in Illinois that I used to live in. But yeah, parents get, separate, and then you start moving all over the place. So each parent keeps moving every year, and then you don't even know.
Were you into D&D?
No, sadly, I was not. I have some friends that are very into
it. All right,
it.
this is over.
I tried. It can be really hard for me to like stay engaged with that game. I like it, but I'm not very good actor, and I get really silly, and I'm sure that's like the bane of every D&D player's existence when someone's just like doing stupid things.
This is serious, dude. You've got
it can take like an hour to get to my turn. I'm like, what is happening again? I'm a very visual person, and it's all internal and in numbers on pages. I'm like, I just having a hard time here. So, but I enjoy the camaraderie around it, and the creativity goes into it.
Yeah.
I have lots of friends that are into it, and
I'm sure
I'll play with them. That I'll try it, but I never really stuck it out through the whole campaign.
Interesting.
I think I did it like once, and I was kind of frustrated with the outcome. So, because it's all random numbers now, I want to do something really cool, and I rolled a 1. And I'm like, oh, there it goes. And
well,
I'm like,
but it's like creating a video game. There's a balance, because the more you get pluses to things, so it increases your chances to do things. So you might roll bad, but you get a plus to it, and there's lots of attributes and proficiencies that make you balanced. And you know what not to attack because you're only first level, so stay away from the white,
I played a lot of Dungeon World with some friends. That was a really, because it was simplified Dungeons and Dragons, and didn't really have to like do a bunch of long division
trigonometry.
To figure out my character. And we was like, okay, we're gonna play D&D today, and we go over to someone's place and spend 5 hours making our characters to go 5 hours. And it's like I'll come back like, what was my character again?
Yeah, that's so
I've lost
true.
my sheet. Where is it?
The character building in D&D loses players. That's where it separates right there. If they get through the character and want to play again, they're a player. If they get through the character development stage and they're like, we're not even gonna play. Like, yeah, it takes a while to make a character.
Yeah, it just takes a while to get through things too, especially when you have a really large team and you're going around the table clockwise, and it finally gets back to you like an hour later. You're like, "What's happening?"
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it though. I love the creativity behind it.
Oh God, yeah.
I made a lot of friends because I could draw, and like, you draw my D&D character. I'm like,
oh
sure.
Yeah, I had a friend like you too. I did that too. I'm like, he's like a swashbuckler, and I want him on a ship, and he has a cutlass, but he does not have a parrot, but he does have like a monkey, and they're like, what? And it's just like at lunch in high school. Like, yeah. Can you give it to me by last period?
Yeah, I would draw it during lunch, and and here's your half elf ranger. Here's your dragon master.
Yep.
It allowed me to be creative. I would get to design what some of these characters look like, or they would tell me, and I would just do my own interpretation of it.
Oh yeah.
That's pretty cool, because I bet a lot of people that were making them up wouldn't be able to draw them. So to be able to see the character that you made, it's a pretty cool.
Yeah, us D&D players had our artist friend, definitely. We all did.
I was definitely that guy.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. Did you ever use that for like jobs and stuff, like graphic design and stuff? Like, I could make you a logo, or I could make you a mascot character or something like that.
I actually got most of my jobs as a 3D environment artist.
Oh, nice.
Every job I had, except for maybe one, was environment focused. So I'd make a 3D environment of like, here's your Jewel Osco, here's your sci-fi weight loss facility for your mobile app. Here's your
nice.
Here's your I don't remember.
Cat's gonna unplug Rena any second.
Did
he just bite you?
Yes, he did, because I was trying to get his tail off of the camera.
You keep throwing him.
That's hilarious. Like, I could sit here. You let me sit here.
He wants to do what he wants to do. I'm trying for him not to put sometimes you can't see where he is, but I don't want him to step on the keyboard and do something crazy, or like unplug my camera. And he won't go anywhere else. I throw him off and he just comes back. He
wants love or food.
Probably both.
Love food.
Yeah.
All right, cool. So you all right, so what, did you have a lot of friends that like to do the same things as you when you were a kid, or like, were you in the nerd group?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I'm a huge nerd.
Yeah.
I just gushed about killer dolls.
Yeah, I know. I figured I knew the answer.
No, yeah. I mean, high school, I made a bunch of friends. They were all into D&D, and I was making comics, drawing anime characters and monsters and xenomorphs and predators, and nice. They're like, "Can you draw me this like orc or something?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course."
Of course, an orc.
I love that. That sounds fun. I like monsters.
Oh wow! Now you also make films, is that right?
I would love to make some movies, but I haven't really gotten the chance to really get into it. I made a few short films in college. I made a few short films when I was younger, for fun, that are horrible. And I've made a couple short films with my friends, and they're not really like something I would put on my portfolio. I made a stop motion animation film in college that I'm pretty proud of, that I would love to do more stop motion, but it's super hard. You need a lot of space, and I have a 1-bedroom apartment. But yeah, I ran a Kickstarter campaign for a short film called Not the Gnomes that didn't go anywhere. Like, I made the movie. I like to make things even though I didn't get the money for them. That's probably my problem. I don't know.
I think that's great.
I love my ideas too much that I like, oh, screw it, I can do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And
that's good.
Yeah, it was a killer gnome movie. It was a horror film, very goofy. But they're like ceramic gnomes that come to life, and it's like Gremlins. That's why I was trying to make that movie with no money. I don't know why, because I'm a 3D artist and I can just make the gnomes in 3D, I guess. And I shot the whole film, which is like 10 minutes long, and we're like, we're gonna do these gnomes in 3D, and we did a couple shots, and I got so tired of animating gnomes that it just, and I really, 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 really wanted to make Horror Legends. I'm like, I don't know, and also I was like, don't see him making any money with this, or I feel like back, especially in like 2013, 2014, like, you know, making an indie game seemed way more profitable and had a better outcome than making a short film and putting it on YouTube. So it just didn't really pan out. So I have that film is shot and edited, but like some only has like 20% of the special effects shots done, and now it's been so long that I don't know if I'll ever be able to get the stuff back. And it was just me and some work friends at the market research company that I used to work at, working together. I was like, let's do something fun with our skills, and I'm like, killer gnomes, because I had a gnome on my desk that I randomly put on people's desks to like weird them out. I'm such a weird guy.
That's great.
But yeah, so we're like, let's make a killer gnome movie. I got this gnome on my desk, and we wrote a script, and one of my other friends actually starred in it as like this groundskeeper that fights the gnomes, and there's a big fat gnome in the woods that all the gnomes worship, and these gnomes feed this fat gnome people, so they kidnap people.
The gnome queen.
It's like, we call it the fat one, and it's basically like this giant gnome with teeth, and I made like a big puppet of it. It looks terrible. I still have the pieces, but I went all out. Like, it's just like, we went practical and CG, and
nice.
I don't know, just maybe someday I'll gather the resources to finish it. But
you have a fan, by the way. Woofy? Do you know Woofy?
Oh, Woofy, yes. He's from our Discord. He was just playing the community game night. Hey, Woofy.
Oh, he has an idea.
Yes, of course he does.
Make the gnome a killer in Horror Legends.
You know I'm gonna do it, Woofy. You're just saying that. I already said that I'm gonna do that.
That's awesome. That's good. That'll be a way to finish it. It'll be like a little
yeah. It was actually
resolution.
the first character for Horror Legends, because I just like I knew I wanted to take those characters and I can make it another monster of the week. So like that groundskeeper I can make him a cast member in my game, and the gnomes could be a legend, and but
I have an idea for a character.
Ooh, what do you got?
Completely black, shadow, like skinny black, kind of like as if you were wearing a one of those green suits that they wear for FX, except it's like black,
like a silhouette. Yes,
and it'll be easier. It'd be super easy, I assume, to do the modeling, and make the shade of black blend in with shadows, so it can almost be invisible if the player plays it correctly. And then you can, there's all kinds of different special actions.
We actually have 2 skins for our legends that are very close to that.
Oh, nice.
There's a lot of unlockable things in Horror Legends. Like,
you can hire me if you want. Apparently, we're on the same page.
I can't even hire myself, man.
I'll do it for
free. Yeah, we have 2. You can unlock a skin like that for the werewolf. That's like completely black silhouette, but it's got glow-in-the-dark claws and teeth.
Nice.
It's a pretty popular skin. And
awesome.
Then we have one for Edith that's very similar to that, where it's like a black silhouette. You can get like some like shiny. It's not the same effect, but it's similar. It's like this black tar look. It's pretty cool.
Nice.
It allows you to like hide pretty well in shadows.
Oh, good.
Probably not fair, but it's fun.
Oh,
that's what matters.
Yeah, exactly.
As long as it's scary and fun.
A lot of really good skins. What's NGL?
Not gonna lie.
Huh. Sure.
He's very hip. He's very with it with the term, the abbreviations and stuff.
Yeah, I always have to figure them out.
Yeah, I don't know any because I'm also a writer by trade, so I don't like them. I like to write everything out, not like the abbreviation.
OMG.
Especially when you don't know what they are first, and you're like, Wait, what are we saying here?
Probably the only ones I will use are LOL or OMG, and those are,
Right.
and that's only like in text.
Because they're OG.
Yeah, but anything else, I'm like, I don't know.
Those are over 15 years old, so yeah.
Hey. Yeah, that was back when smiley faces were colon and a closed parenthesis sign.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, emojis used to be just that. They can make them all. Yes. Oh my God. So when you were saying your movies that you liked as a kid, and I was trying to place your age from that, because it sounds like you really liked the late 90s movies. Is that right? Or
I'm 36, but I mean, I like a lot of movies from different eras. I mean, I love a lot of 80s movies and 90s movies, as long as it's got a fun story and it's not boring, some cool effect to draw me in. I don't know if you're talking just horror, that's definitely doesn't take a lot. As long as it's got something to it, it's not just two guys walking to the woods talking about nothing.
Did you like Troll?
Troll, the original Troll or Troll 2?
The original is tough because there's an original, and then there's the remake.
The original Harry Potter. The main character in that movie is called Harry Potter, and he lives under the stairs.
Seriously?
Yeah, it's a 1986 movie.
Really? I don't know how to feel about that.
Yeah, well, inspiring. Someone was inspired by an Empire movie.
I was thinking of the
80s.
The Troll. I think it's a Norwegian film.
Troll Hunter.
Troll Hunter. Sorry. Yes, Troll Hunter.
Troll Hunter. It's a found footage movie. That's a pretty cool one. I haven't seen it since it came out, but I love that movie. Yeah, that's a cool one.
I was so happy about that movie because it's so raw and not corny, and so it just was so great. I loved it because I usually don't like movies like that, but wow, that was great.
Found footage, right?
The what?
It's found footage, like shaky cam.
Yeah, totally. Right. Yeah, and also I was expecting terrible special effects, and what I got was awesome.
Yeah, the movie's got some great effects. I gotta watch it now.
Yeah.
I like to every October. I like to do. I like to challenge myself and do a horror movie a day.
Oh, nice.
So I might try to make that one of them.
Oh, it's
fun. It's fun. It's really hard to do, and sometimes I just can't do it. But it makes me take a moment away from work and do something fun.
Oh,
you have a top, that you could give the audience. You have a top list of, I don't know, top 5 horror
films. It might be kind of a boring list to big horror fans, but you can't lie with some of the classics. I think the best horror film ever made is Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, that movie is just it's got so much going on, and it's kind of just a brilliant piece of art, but also disturbing and got a really dark sense of humor that I didn't catch until my second viewing. But my first time I watched that movie was I was with a friend, and we're in his basement. We watched it on a VHS tape and like a bad TV, and it was like the perfect way to watch it. And kind of white knuckled our way through that movie, and it was oof. I was kind of getting back into horror at the time, so I was checking out all the main horror films that everyone recommends, and I finally got the Texas Chainsaw, and I saw that, and it's just I'm never watching that again. It was so terrifying. And then I moved to Washington, and we do this thing called Friday Night Frights here in Tacoma. It's run by a pretty cool dude named Anthony, and he wasn't running at the time, but their first movie was Texas Chainsaw Massacre, and I was with a friend, and we saw it. I'm like, I don't know, it's been a while. I haven't seen this in a couple of years, and I remember it really freaked me out. And we're watching the movie, and of course everyone in the theater has seen it 100 times, so they're laughing at the movie. I'm like, what are they laughing at? And I started to see the dark humor through it. I'm like, oh my God, this movie is so brilliant. It's got texture,
layers
to it. You start to laugh at how the family, the cannibal family, interacts with each other. Leatherface is chasing this woman through the house. The woman closes the door on Leatherface, and Leatherface uses a chance to cut the door. And then Grandpa comes by and goes, "God, look what your brother did to the door." And it's I kind of relate to that. That's kind of funny.
That's the issue is the door, not the like.
Yeah, well, they're so used to eating people that's just like to them he's like chasing a cat out of the house. But that's the funny part. It's just that moment. It's like it's also disturbing because of how normal it is for them. So it's funny and horrifying at the same time, which is why that movie is so good. Another cool moment in that movie is when Leatherface takes like two kids is broke into his house and just like wandering around, and he like kills them, puts them in like a cooler, and then there's a moment with Leatherface where he sits down and starts like freaking out, and you can just see that he's like, where are these kids coming from? Why are they breaking into my house? I'm just trying to make dinner. Like, but they're cannibals, so everything's normal for them, but to everyone else it's horrifying what they're doing. It's just like, yeah, it's just a crazy movie.
Yeah,
that's definitely one of the best films ever made. That's one. I love Halloween, the movie Halloween, of course. That's like, I remember seeing that when I was probably a little too young, but that movie, the atmosphere in that movie is so good.
Yeah,
that's why you watch it. It's just like, just see Laurie Strode walking across the street to some spooky piano music in the fall is like that. That's why that movie's so good. It's just like when you think of Halloween in the month of October, that's the exact thing I think of. That tone and how it builds up to the night, and now everything goes to it gets crazy when Michael Myers is slashing everyone at night. It's just kind of like classic horror film for me. It just, I don't know, it's really good, tastefully done too. It's not super gory or horrifying. They're not glorifying the kills in any way. It's more of just, it's spooky, and I don't know, it's a good one. The music definitely is the star of that movie for me. Music and the cinematography.
Yeah.
I love the movie Dolls. I don't know if it's another killer doll movie. It's probably my favorite killer doll movie of all time. Stuart Gordon, the guy who directed Reanimator, right after Reanimator, he made a movie called Dolls, and it's this fairy tale like movie. About a family, a dysfunctional family breaking down. They have to take refuge in this house during a storm, this old house, and it's owned by like an old couple that have a house full of toys. And it almost feels like everything's just kind of fortuitous to a point where it's just kind of like, this is too good to be true. And you come to realize through the course of the film that, they're like witches, and they kind of crafted this whole thing to happen. And they're like, the husband's a doll maker and the wife is a witch. And so she uses her witchcraft to bring these dolls to life. And it's just a spooky film. And it's got like this kind of heart of gold to it too. That's like, I don't know, I can't really explain it, but like, it's macabre and spooky and kind of childlike. Like, it's a classic fairy tale, like what you'd expect, like Red Riding Hood's, like I feel like would fall in love with Red Riding Hood and Hansel and Gretel and stuff. And it's got great effects, stop motion, like dolls and puppetry, and the music is really spooky. That's a good one. Highly recommend Dolls, especially if you're looking for something for Halloween. I'm looking at my movies across just trying to get in the idea. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is basically a party. It's like a great party horror film. I don't know if you've seen that. Killer Clowns from Outer Space is like one of the greatest.
I've heard of it. I've never seen it. I used to own a video store, so I've heard of pretty much every movie.
Watch Killer Clowns like right away. Like, that movie is such a good time.
I don't know if I could. I'm petrified.
No, it's like, yeah, when you're a kid, that movie's gonna scare you, but as an adult, you're gonna be smiling the entire time.
Squeal.
It's such a fun movie. All the clown scenes are like gags. They're just like, the way they attack people is just like silly and funny. Like, one clown kills people with a shadow puppet. Like, he makes a T-Rex on the wall and he makes the T-Rex eat people. And you're like, it's not scary at all. It's just kind of like, it's funny. I can't explain it. And the costuming, everything about that movie is just fantastic. I don't know.
Nightmare.
Of course, Nightmare on Elm Street's really good. Yeah, I love the creativity with Nightmare on Elm Street. The Nightmare sequence, like, that's an idea that just like, I wouldn't mind if they just made a Nightmare on Elm Street every year. Like there's so much it can never get old because they're nightmare sequences. You can do whatever you want in them.
Yeah.
And it's like, and the fact that they stopped making those movies just kind of bums me out because I wish I could see Freddy Krueger do some more wacky stuff.
Oh, they'll make more.
He doesn't have to age. You don't have to come up with you don't have to like, he's not a man in a mask. You understand why he comes back to life when he gets shot or something. He's a dream. So you can do whatever you want. Sky's the limit.
Yeah.
That franchise is really fun. And I don't know, I guess, the Alien movies,
Interesting.
Aliens.
I have seen those.
Those are some of the best sci-fi horror ever. I mean, The Thing is really good too. There's so many. Don't make me pick 5. They're all so good, but the Alien franchise is like some of the best. Practical effects, storytelling, atmosphere, cinematography. At least the first couple movies.
Yeah. I like the second one a lot. I wasn't a huge fan of the first one, but the second one I really liked a lot. I don't know why.
Yeah. Oh, it's just good storytelling.
Yeah.
James Cameron knows what he's doing when
Yeah.
he knows how to like take you for a ride.
Yeah.
And he definitely does with that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true. What do you with Jason versus Freddy? I never saw it, and the reason why I didn't is because I thought it would be a lot like Superman versus Batman or something. Like, how on earth does Jason compete with Freddy? Like, I mean, it's a really old movie, so spoilers. But
so that movie, like, I didn't grow up with Freddy and Jason as a big part of my childhood. So, like, when I saw that movie, I was pretty open to whatever they were going to do with those characters. I feel like a lot of the fans were just hurt about certain interpretations or directions they went, and I could totally get that because the Alien vs Predator movies exist, and those movies really upset me. But when I saw a Freddy vs Jason, I just thought it was a really fun movie. I guess I think like what all the reasoning they had to get them together and fight was very well crafted, like they're really well thought of, and everything kind of made sense to me. There's like some little things about, well, not little things. So Friday the 13th fans are probably, they're upset because Kane Hodder isn't playing Jason Voorhees, and he's not, he's scared of water in this movie. He's more scared of drowning in that movie, not scared of water. There's a nightmare sequence where Freddy uses water against him to freak him out, and it's like, yeah, he's bringing back his childhood trauma of drowning. Of course, he's going to be scared. And it's like, it's a kind of how do you not do that in a nightmare sequence? Like, how is Freddy going to stop Jason otherwise?
Right.
And it's like, that's like one of the big gripes of that movie is fans don't like the.
Wait, so people don't like that he was using a nightmare scenario to bring up his childhood trauma?
They think with Jason, he's shown so often in the water in those movies that like, why is he scared of water in that movie?
I see.
He's only scared of water in the nightmare sequence, and I think it's because Freddy's learning about what he's actually traumatized by, and it's so buried deep within his psyche, so it took him forever. And that's like the first fight that they have in that movie is in a dream world, and Freddy keeps taking out Jason. He keeps coming back to life, and he's like, I can't figure this guy out. And then eventually he gets to how he died in the origin story, and then he goes, oh, okay. And then it's I think it's a really cool way to like bring those two characters together, and really kind of inspired me to do Horror Legends and figure out how I would love my killers to cross over, and they do. And if I ever were to finish the comic book, they will cross over and interact with each other quite a bit, like Corey and Psycho Phil. They're basically Bonnie and Clyde. But yeah, I don't know. That movie's a lot of fun. It's good to not take that stuff too seriously anyway, so it helps to enjoy the schlockiness that it is.
Do you have any future projects that you want to do, or are you just tied up in the current one so much that you're like, psh?
Actually, our next project is based on a IP called Puppet Master. So we're basically doing a version of Horror Legends in Puppet Master, with the Puppet Master IP. So Puppet Master is a franchise that I grew up with. It's a killer doll franchise. There's like 12 movies. Um, it's like kind of horror fantasy, but yeah, our next game is a multiplayer survival horror game with the Puppet Master IP, where 3 puppets can team up against 1 human survivor, and they have to complete an objective while the puppets are trying to kill them. We have a lot of other game modes and stuff in plan, but that's like the one we're focusing on right at the moment.
Wow.
Yeah, it's we teamed up with Full Moon Features last year, and we're able to do a lot of crossover with their IP. And we actually had a crossover from another movie franchise called Subspecies in Horror Legends. So that's one of the DLCs you might see. And
oh, nice.
Yeah, so it's actually a character from one of their movies. It's a vampire franchise. Yeah, I grew up with Full Moon. They're actually a big part of how they inspired me quite a bit, because they had like these cool you rent their movies and you'd watch them, and at the very end they would have like this behind the scenes featurette, and that was like the first of its kind, really. Like, this is like early 90s and they're doing this on VHS tapes, and you get to see how they did the puppet effects and how they did certain gore and stop motion, and the actors got to talk about how they acted, and the directors would talk about their approaches on certain scenes and stuff. It was really cool, and it like fired me up to do creative stuff. Really, like, people can do that stuff for a living and they can just make what they want. That's crazy. Which, that's, I didn't really get how producers and stuff play into it. I was just thinking some dude just makes everything,
right?
But like, and that's kind of drove me to like, I want to do that. And so like October Games kind of became that. It's like, I want to make video games of stuff I want to make, and I don't really care whether or not it's popular or not. But you asked me about Puppet Master. I'm all over the place. But you asked me what my next game was.
Yeah. That's fine. It's just like me, pretty much.
Our next game is, it's another multiplayer horror game, but this time it's based off a movie IP that's actually got a decent following, and it means a lot to me. It means a lot to the October Games community, and are hoping that really, is something special when it comes out, hopefully later this year. Very probably late this year. We've been working to ourselves to the bone on this thing all year long. It's got a lot in common with Horror Legends, but it's kind of its own thing too. We're building a lot of new features from the ground up. It's focusing a lot more on polish, and really want to do this right.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I guess I don't know really what else to go into.
Oh, that's fine. I'm excited to. I'm going to actually join your Discord.
Oh,
because I'm super interested. But we have like 10 minutes left or so. Is there anything you want to plug or anything? So I know what to put for links on the screen when I edit and stuff.
Oh, sure. You could follow October Games on Twitter. You can go to octobergames.com. We have a lot of links to all our social media there. You can go, there's a link to our Discord. There's a link to our Twitter or Instagram page there, and you can follow us. We have a Facebook account. I also have my own personal Twitter. It's the Drake 200, or it's who is the Drake at the Drake200.com, or not .com. It's a Twitter account. And I have Instagram, which I think is just Instagram/DrakeKaz, so DrakeKaz. But yeah, follow us on those, and keep tabs on all of our stuff. We also have a Puppet Master the Game Twitter account too.
Oh, nice.
Which is Twitter, or it's / Puppet Master TG. At Puppet Master TG. I'm an old guy. I don't really know what the frick I'm doing with this Twitter stuff. I'm still figuring it out.
You're an old guy.
I'm not really that old. I feel old because I work too much. But yeah, I don't really. Yeah, we can take tabs on our Puppet Master project. We'll be posting all sorts of cool stuff on there as Puppet Master gets closer to release. Yeah, I expect a lot of exciting things in the future of October games.
Nice.
Nice.
Nina, did you have anything else to ask? Because I didn't want to. You might be like, if not, I have my final question.
Oh yeah, I think we actually got through like really the majority of our.
I didn't look at it once. I didn't look at it once. I just had them in my head. Well, I had a ton.
This is impressively. This was the one time that he didn't go wildly off sheet because the questions on there were, I guess, things that he actually wanted to ask.
Oh
so.
yeah, big time. I had a bunch. They just popped into my head as soon as they're like, he's making a horror game. I'm like, I was so excited.
I'll ask one last one for like the gaming novices that are listening. So if somebody is totally new to games, what do you recommend starting with? And maybe like one non-horror and one horror.
Well, it kind of depends on your taste. Like there's so many different genres of games. Like if you're into puzzles, like my wife loves puzzle games like Tetris and I don't know what the other ones are called, to be honest. Like those Bejeweled and stuff. She loves that stuff.
That's the only thing I can play. Bejeweled.
Right.
And
Yeah.
I can play those.
She gets motion sickness with the camera controls in games, so she can't play a lot of the stuff I make. But you know, everyone's got their own tastes. So like if you're interested in first-person shooter games or just horror games, I start with a very simple horror game that's just like a basic camera controls, and a lot of them are just walk to this area and pick up an object. And so
where in the world is Carmen Sandiego?
Oh man, I don't know. I haven't seen that one.
It's really old.
That sounds like a DOS game.
It is.
I feel like you'll need a tutorial just to get that to run. But I would recommend Amnesia for. I don't know if that's a good novice game. I feel like it is, but I don't know.
Fantastic.
Compared to a multiplayer horror game, it is. Or something simple like itch.io, like Slender. That's so old. I don't. Something simple to play.
There's Among Us. Wait, is that it?
Among Us is multiplayer. If you want, so the problem with multiplayer games, something I had to learn the hard way, is if you have no one to play with, no one can play your game. So
yeah.
And also, if you want to play that game and you don't want to play with random people, you have to get your friends together. You have to convince them to buy it, and it's a whole thing. But if you want to play a good horror game by yourself, maybe I would start with Amnesia. It's mostly just walking through an environment, clicking on things. There's some physics stuff you have to figure out, but it gives you the time to figure it out, and it'll give you the skills you need to like play something more intense like Resident Evil 7.
Oh,
that game is intense. That game is so good. I'd recommend that game for. That's not for novices.
No, the camera angles mess me up actually when I'm playing them. Like I didn't want to go that way.
Well, Resident Evil 7 is first person, so it's like a first.
Oh, they changed it.
Yeah, Resident Evil 7 is so good. It's one of my favorites. Wow. Especially the VR.
Oh,
VR is terrifying.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking at the chat, and this is actually a good question that Kay has. She said, do you consider people who play games like Tetris gamers?
Of course.
Yeah, Tetris is fine.
My wife's a gamer. So yeah.
She's talking about because I was asking, I was saying that gamers were gamers, and then they brought up phone games, and I'm like, phone games are not gamers. They're people that play games on phones. It's a different group of people. Tetris is still gamers because you can play it on PC. I'm fine with that.
I feel like gamer is like saying you're kind of like movies are movies. Gamers are gamers, but there are different types of movies. Like there's different types of gamers. You're a puzzle gamer. Like I play I personally prefer multiplayer games. That's my jam. Like I can play a single player game. Doesn't really like keep my attention as long. Like I'll play it one time through and I'll never touch it again. But I'll put like 10 times as many hours into a multiplayer game because I like playing with people. I like the social experience, and also just playing with a person is way more interesting than playing with a bot or an AI that doesn't really like gives me the same thing every time. And I find it more interesting to play, especially if you're playing a game like Horror Legends, where that's like kind of the main draw. Like you don't know what the monster's going to do. It adds to the fear. But if you're playing a single player horror game and you know what the monster's going to do, it doesn't make it scary.
Yeah.
But something unpredictable, that's when it's scary.
I'm not a big
That's the
fan
key to
of
horror.
I'm not a big fan of AI enemies. I tried to play Elder game. Is that what it's called? Elder
game?
it just came out recently.
Elden Ring?
Yeah, that's it. I played like for 2 hours and got my money back because I knew it was going to be just memorize what the AI does and react accordingly, and I got so bored.
I get that. I probably shouldn't say this out loud, but I kind of felt that way about Bloodborne. Like Bloodborne and those Souls games. Like, it's like you die and then everything gets set back in the same spot.
Yeah.
And you go back and you have to like memorize their pattern. It's like a Super Nintendo game where like
that bores me.
It's frustrating. and I half the reason I play games is to experience a world, and the other half is interacting with it.
Yeah.
And I love the art and everything in Bloodborne and a lot of those Souls games.
Yeah, the artwork's amazing.
I feel like out of a lot of the single player games, those games would be more appealing because it's got like this great combat system and they're amazing games. I think it's just way out. My brain is like what I'm looking for particularly is I like that unpredictability.
Yeah,
but those games are designed for be predictables.
Yeah,
for a reason, and just like that's not my flavor.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, that's definitely true. I changed my mind, by the way. If Tetris does not make you a gamer.
Oh.
I thought about it and I'm like, no. Gamer's a very specific kind of person, and you're either a gamer or you're a person that dabbles in games.
My wife puts a lot of hours into this Harry Potter Bejeweled game on her phone. So I don't know. She's probably more a gamer than I am at this point.
Not my definition of gamer.
I'm in like the thousands of Candy Crush. Does that count? That's a lot.
I mean, obviously, what I'm saying is just my opinion. I get it. There's no. I'm just saying, when you talk with gamers, there's a language that's there, and thing. You know, you connect on a lot of levels because of the fact that you're both gamers. I don't think Candy Crush would give you the same.
It's sounds like a culture thing. It's like a culture thing, I guess. Like, people, I guess, that play Candy Crush. Like I don't give a shit if somebody else plays. Honestly, I just am happy.
Like I cooked dinner last night, but I'm not a cook. I'm not a chef. I just cooked dinner.
But you get the same dopamine rush as a chef does when they cook.
I got zero. I hate cooking.
I guess that's the difference between a cook and a...
Oh, dopamine level. That's interesting. Maybe that's a great way to think about it.
Well, I feel like watching my wife play the Bejeweled game. It's like, this thing is designed to just give you dopamine hits.
Yeah.
And they want you to buy little microtransactions. There's a lot of predatory design choices in a lot of mobile games, which a lot of mainstream gamers kind of will scoff at, and I don't blame them because I feel like it sucks because you play a game, I want to enjoy a game, I don't want to feel pressured into buying things all the time.
I'm sorry, who scoffs at those games? What are they called? Mainstream gamers? What?
Mainstream, I guess you could mainstream gamer people. Yeah.
Yes, that's what I'm talking about. If you need to put another word in front of it, you go right ahead, but that's what I mean. Like
when I say mainstream, I guess it's more like the more traditional or old school. I don't know. It needs more language. There needs to be another word created because those are games. They're technically games. If you love those, technically, you can have the same passion for that game that you could for a shooter or whatever. It doesn't. And what's the difference then? Like, so it's just the genre of game. Like someone who loves.
I think it's the culture.
Yeah. If I like horror films and someone likes romantic comedies, we both love film, right? So film, we're both considered film buffs. So it's kind of interesting.
Yes, but then there are the people that just watch movies once in a while.
But she doesn't play that game once in a while. She plays it a lot.
Oh yeah. I like the dopamine. That's the thing that's changed my mind the most.
Yeah.
That's the best argument I've heard. Dopamine shots makes a gamer possibly. That I might be there with you on that.
Well, I mean, those mobile games are probably packed. They're designed
you may have changed my mind.
That philosophy there.
You may have changed my mind. I had to alter it a little.
So much Bejeweled Blitz, like back in I worked at a furniture store, and like every second I get on that computer, even though I wasn't supposed to, and I was just bejeweling
You like solving puzzles, you like right, like that's you like the challenge of quickly figuring something out.
So is Wordle? Does Wordle make a gamer? I mean, Wordle, I guess now.
I'm not very familiar with Wordle. That's what the
you know why?
Are.
Because you're a gamer.
I'm also a little out of touch.
No words.
I'm mostly kidding.
I'm in game development land for so long that sometimes I go on the internet and I don't know what's happening.
We have a comment. No words says people who only play AAA. That's mainstream gamer. I don't know what AAA.
AAA games. Those are like Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, the games that cost a fortune to make and have over 600 people crunching.
Yep. And the two people that said the word that told you what AAA means are gamers. This is what I'm talking about. There's a culture, a language, there's a whole thing.
You're looking into what I guess like a gamer is considered a film buff. Like if you watch a lot of movies, are you film buff, or do you really, if you don't know the directors of the movies but you're watching a lot of movies, does that make you film buff? I think if you look into the behind the scenes more of what goes into it, might be the defining factor there. I don't know.
Yeah, this is all subjective. I'm it's just fun.
We're trying to find the answer.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, that's it. Exactly.
No gatekeeping. It's just trying to figure it out.
Yeah, like I knew someone that, like, when I say I like games, they're like, oh, me too. I used to play Super Nintendo when I was a kid. I'm like, do you play games anymore? No, I don't really like games anymore. I don't
if they don't like it, then
yeah, but if you told them if it's Super Mario Brothers, though, they would be right on it again. Now, I don't know. I don't know. It's a complicated subject.
Yeah.
It is.
I will get to the bottom of it, though.
But I have had, I have gone on rants before. I'm like, I don't like games at all. I'm not going to play. And then I've had somebody who probably Jason would put into the gamer category say to me, well, you play like these puzzle games on your phone, like that makes you a gamer. And even I was like, that doesn't make me a gamer. Yeah, I don't.
It's a culture.
I feel like a lot of gamers have the feeling like, I hate this game, and then they'll keep playing it. Like because games will make you emotionally invested, and then you get frustrated when it doesn't work out your way, and then but you want to come back and do it again. And
that's true.
I think that's the big thing with games. Is like you're trying to challenge yourself, and sometimes you don't succeed, and you get frustrated, and sometimes that frustration is very high if the game's designed a certain way. Like Dark Souls, when you die and all your stuff's on the ground, you have to go all the way back and go through that same thing again to get your stuff back, but you die again, you lose all that stuff, and then so it's like there's that frustration. It's how you deal with that frustration too. It's part of it. Like,
the only reference, the only way I can relate to that is playing Super Mario Brothers at my grandfather's house when I was a kid. Because again, we're not allowed to have, but grandparents had games.
Oh, nice.
And I would try, and I was not good at it, but it was like the most I ever learned controls. And every time you get to a certain part and you couldn't do the jump, and he would die, and my grandfather would sit in the chair and be laughing, oh, there you go, and then
grandpa's a gamer.
And I would get so mad, and then you play again, and you're doing it again and again, and there's that and it's like, why do you keep doing this?
Like, I must defeat the game. That's why this game has wronged me, and I must correct it.
Right, but then you just learn the pattern, and you know.
Yeah, that's the big thing with a lot of those old games. It's not really about skill. It's like learning this pattern that you have to navigate, and that gets tiresome. The patterns. Yeah,
cool. All right, well, we're a little over the 2-hour mark. I do have a final question for you. It's a crazy question. It's a hypothetical. So get ready to stretch your mind.
Mind is stretched.
All right. So in this hypothetical, you're sitting in your chair right now, except you're alone, and through the door, someone comes in and they look exactly like you. They're wearing the same clothes, but everything's a little bit ripped and tattered, and they're a little bit beat up, and maybe even a little bit of a mark on their face because they've been bruised and stuff. And they say, "Come with me right now. I'm from the future." What do you do?
First, I ask him, so how did Puppet Master do? And then I go,
He
is this
says,
because
"Not that
Puppet
far."
Master didn't do well?
He says,
Did
"Not
Puppet
that."
Master not do well? Is that why we were injured? Can you work on Puppet Master right now?
Are we injured because of Puppet Master?
Could you bring your computer from your time and bring it next to me? We can work on it at the same time and get twice as much work done.
Just keep looping until
I would hire him. I would make him work with me, and we'd get Puppet Master come out faster.
You're the first person that's trying to convince the person to stay.
Yeah, but I thought this.
You know how many? Look, I'm overworked.
It's urgent.
Yeah.
Right? Isn't it urgent? And he has to go with you.
Well, I like it. You're hiring yourself.
Look, I'm overworked, and I need someone to help me get stuff done. And this guy walks in with the same skill set, the same passion. I'm like, dude, we're gonna work on this.
How's
You're
that
gonna
work?
work on.
How's that going to work?
Jester animations, and I'll do the blade animations, and we'll get this done. We'll get this done twice as fast.
What about your
What if
personal
he's
life,
lost
though?
What if he's lost his passion, though? It's years later.
It's years later. Well,
Well, you don't know how long. He's wearing the same clothes, so it could be like an hour from now.
Well,
You're like,
sometimes
I
you
always
say-
wear these clothes.
Yeah, sometimes you say that the person is older. So,
Oh yeah, you're right. Sometimes I do say they're older. I think you might. I don't. Do I? Do I say they're older? Because I always.
sometimes you do, and sometimes you don't.
well, they're from the
Sometimes-
future, so they have to be older by some margin.
Yes, a little older. Yes. Yeah. I always think of them as it being ambiguous, not knowing how far in the future. So but maybe I might have said I switch it up a little. But I like your answer. It's pretty unique. No one's ever tried to make the person stay.
You just said there's like another version of me. That's immediately what I thought of. Is like, oh, he needs to work on Puppet Master then.
Nice. I love it. All right. Well, that's great. I think that's wonderful. Put him to work.
that is a unique answer.
Yes.
I'll have more free time.
Awesome. Yeah, but
you take the odd days, I'll take the even days.
But one partner, though, that's the thing. That's going to get a little weird. But
oh yeah, we'll get to that bridge when we come to
it. That's fantastic. All right, awesome. Great. Well, I guess yeah, I mean, I'd like to say a few things about Human Happy Hour because we need to do this sometime. We never do this, but please subscribe if you're watching and you're not subscribed yet, and go to our social media, and you can see that in the description, and please follow us there. And if I've just started today, I'm going to start putting full-length interviews onto our Patreon, so you can only watch the unedited not yet, but this is the way it's going to be. You can only watch the unedited interviews on Patreon, so feel free to go to Patreon and join. It also supports the channel. And I just want to say thank you very much for being here. And Rena, anything you want to say too?
Yeah, and we're on Spotify.
Oh, hell yeah.
Catch us on Spotify. And yeah, so this was fun. I learned a lot about gaming, and yeah, good luck on all your projects, and we'll have to, well, I'll maybe try it. Someone might have to walk me through it.
And I'll Steam friend you.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy to show you the ropes.
Yeah, we should do that.
Thank you for being with us, Drake.
Thanks for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
All right, cool. And you don't have to leave if you don't want. Or you can.
All right, so we're off.
Oh, we are? Okay.